I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, and we're going to keep this short and sweet so we get to the questions so that we're not here all night long. Please, open us up.
Hi, I am the Honorable Lady Shona Egan Gregor. I am the former Kingdom Shadowlane. I am currently your Baronial Signet. I previously was your North Oaken Regional, along with Eastwatch's Shadowlane at one time. I was also their Chronicler and Deputy I do this every time. Deputy Minister of Arts and Sciences, and I have been in the SCA for almost 20 years.
Sergeant Morales Kilianis. I've been in the SCA for 10 years, been an officer in some form for 9 of those 10 years, either a marshal or recently stepped down to seneschal. I've marshaled pretty much every event in some capacity at one time when it was hosted in the barony and some outside.
It's not dead
Thanks,
yet.
Hawthorne.
I'm Mistress Chayu's son. I'm a pelican, a court baroness, a bunch of other stuff, and top 2 jobs. I was mayor of Penzic 42. There's a lot of jobs. I don't know what the other top one. I've been a deputy mayor at Penzic for 23 years.
Herding cats, got it.
I am Baron Sir Silverthorn, member of the Order of the Pelican. I've been in the SCA for 40 years. My top 2 jobs that I'm most proudest of are Shiv Secretary and
Because you
Deputy.
changed the way they did things.
Yeah, for all the peerages, actually. And Deputy Mayor for her and the year after for martial activities at Penzic.
I'm Algar Ironhand. I'm Squire to Sir Silverthorn. I've been in the SCA for 20 years. My greatest accomplishment recently is I'm the Regional Commander for Combat Archery for the Northern Oaken Army.
I am Lady Gisela Vulva Refndotter. I am currently the Baronial Herald. I like to feed people and make sure people have fun.
I am Baroness Katrina Klein. I've been in the SCA for nearly 16 years. Top 2 jobs, well, I've been Seneschal of Gwyntarian right before the pandemic, and I'm currently your Baronial Knights Marshal.
I am the Honorable Lord Donald Dane of Blackmarsh. I have been in the SCA since 1996. As far as jobs go, I pretty much, if there's a job in the barony, I pretty much held it. But my two who proudest were Herald and most recently the Seneschal through the whole of the pandemic.
Thank you. These are our candidates. We're going to open up the questions. Mrs. Sarwina, you have the honor of the first question. We're going to start with our first couple.
Okay, and eventually I want everybody to say something about it. But you got asked a question Tuesday about what you wanted to possibly think of as change in the SCA itself. I'm more interested in recognizing that after 4 baronial couples have already come and gone, a growing barony from infancy of the first couple to the 4th couple has undergone changes. You can't have an entity without there being changes. So within the barony idea, and it has been some changes for good, some for bad, some all over the map. But I want to know, do you see that there is any need for some change that you would like to make, or that you just have a change you'd like to see, assuming that the rest of the barony goes, oh yeah, great idea.
I personally feel that within the barony there needs to be more recognition for the hard work and hard deeds that people have accomplished within the barony. I know that people sometimes do things and they just feel like, I did this and I didn't even get a thank you. I would like to eliminate that. I would like to make sure that whenever anybody does anything, that they do receive recognition and they do receive a thank you, because they took their time and their effort to help us, and we should in turn thank them.
For me, I would want to continue that momentum. So you've said that there was growth over time, obviously, to keep that going. so that more people can enjoy what we do, so more people can feed their interests. Other than that, I just hit my time. Many hands make light work. To not have these situations where there's one or two or three or small number of people that are focused upon to do so many tasks, so that we can get more people involved in helping out, so not one person is so overburdened that they get burned out by doing what they're doing.
Both of those are excellent answers. Recognition on a regular basis. I carry around a little bag with me of tiny chick beads. They're little tiny chicks on a glass bead, and a bunch of little tiny glass leaves. And when I see somebody doing, wherever, I see somebody doing great art, I hand them a leaf and I say, you're on your way to a laurel. Here's your first leaf. Or I see them doing some service. Here's your first chick, because you're on your way to a pelican. And that's my way of encouraging people. We call them the done goods in our household. I'd like to see more people doing that. When you see somebody doing something cool, just go up and say so. But not just the Baron and Baroness, not just the muckety-mucks. We need to all do that for each other. We need to go, hey, you did a cool thing. That was awesome. We need to applaud excellence wherever we see it. So that would be mine.
On a similar note, I think there's a lot of growth going on in the barony right now, especially in like Thistle. They're working really hard in Mansfield. I think it's important that if we were the Baron and Baroness, we would make an effort to go to these groups and encourage other people to go to those meetings and get more cross attendance between groups that carries information and skills, fighting knowledge, whatever, to those people who are interested in it, and so that each group can grow without having to have specific people that do that thing. I think that will help keep membership up, keep membership attracted, so we can maintain the people that we have, and maybe, you know, like when the Medina people have their stuff on the square, maybe we're gonna attract new people because we got more stuff going on. So, and I also agree with her. I'm gonna try to, if in the office, I will make, you know, chain links, which we've given out as members of the chivalry, is here's your first chain, and also, you know, discs that are you done goods that are like, wow, you really busted your butt today. Good job. You know.
I think the barony itself, it runs pretty good. It just needs some new excitement in it. Try to bring some more fun, to do more things, to like get other people to notice what we're doing. Like find where we're having fairs and things and see if we can't somehow get in there to set up to do any kind of a demo. I know demos are hard to do because mostly during the daytime everybody's working, the schools and stuff like that, they're in school. But I just think we need to have more of a resurrection of more fun things to do. It seems like it's getting kind of stagnant to me.
So I think that there is also a group of people that, there's two groups of people that need to be more regularly recognized. Is our older community and our LGBTQ, and I know I probably took that away from you, sorry. But you know, there is that emergence of my son who is disabled. You know, he's faced that whole criticism all his life. You know, what's wrong with him and all that. And I think we need to start recognizing people for their uniqueness and not just for their works, but we have a very large population of the communities that are, you know, they're recognized, but I think they need to be more utilized and to be our spokespeople to say, hey, you know, we're here. We are old and we are gray, but we are still out here fighting. We are still out here, you know, shooting arrows, fencing, cooking, hauling chairs, you know, and our LGBTQ community, you know, it's like there are still some that are afraid to be who they are, and I think we need to embrace them, and we need to say, hey, I see you for who you are. So that's where I would like to see change and utilization.
I'd actually like to see more cross-pollination between the two groups. We have two that seem to be really pushing that are somewhat local to us, which is Thistle and Aldeford. Having people of their vast abilities, knowledge, going out to there and helping build these groups. I remember when this was a lot smaller, like we didn't even have a marshal, you know, show up weekly when we first started. We had one rapier guy that eventually burst the blades, and it's eventually that spread. So I want to see things that bring us more together in those areas, and it may be, you know, it's hard to get to a practice, you know, 2 times a week sometimes, but going out there once a month to go out and help would be great and help build it. Another way I would like to see that done, not just going out to these places, but more cross-pollination in things that aren't meetings and events. We have like the Cooks Guild coming up on Sunday, we've been doing the ANS at my house, stuff like that where people can come together and it's kind of a low stakes, getting to know people. And there, it doesn't necessarily matter as much about, like titles and stuff. It's the getting together and learning and being together. And you get to meet people who've been in forever and people who've been in for not very long. And I think that's important. And we can also do that at meetings through maybe like, we do a small tournament on Medina Square and it's focused on that tournament. And it's not really a demo, but we've invited fighters from across the Barony to do it. And it's out of practice, but why not? You know, it's like a mini event. So things like that is what I'd like to see.
Please silence all cell phones and on mobile devices. The hard part is that part about being the last person, and after that question is that yes. I agree wholeheartedly with everything that was said. I would say that what is this Barony? What I'd like to see change. Double the people that are in this room, double the people that are in Thistle, double the people that are in Aldeford, etc., etc. I remember one of my first Penzics, and I was with the Barony when Baron Alexander said that he wanted to come back in 20 years with a Barony that's as big as Clefland's. Well, if I can ever find Alexander, or I can report that Brendoken now was as big as Clefland's was back in the early 2000s. We need to keep that going. We need to keep growing. I don't know if we'll ever be as big as Clefland's because we're two very different communities in that regard. But at the same time, that's kind of what I love about Brendoken, in that this isn't fighter or even in rapier community. We've got people that are on master or laurel whole knight level at virtually every aspect of the society, and that's something which we need to take immense pride in.
All right, opening up for another question. Please raise your hand. Wait to be called on. Thanks a lot.
I had to make noise another way too.
So. I expect nothing less.
Right. So I guess what I want to definitely like to start out is I kind of look at all of you as leaders and people who have really taught me so much. Well, pretty much everyone in this room, being as new as I am. But one thing that's really important to me is leadership. And you know, I definitely look at our current Baron as someone who is a leader for all of us in his way, which kind of makes, you know, he smiles all the time, and he's always making goofs, and you know, kind of puts a smile on everyone's face. So one thing I'd like to do is maybe ask 1 or 2 words that describe your type of leadership and why those are so important to you.
Mr. Shaw, we're going to start with you.
Okay. Leadership is an interesting thing because what I've discovered being in charge, I like being in charge. I like making things work. I like being the person who says, okay, that's not working, what else can we do? And brainstorming and getting it going. And I learned a lot of that from the Penzic staff. But the one thing that I've learned is you can't make somebody follow you. You have to inspire them to follow you. So if you want to be a leader, you can't go out and say, I'm going to change that. I'm going to change this. You have to say, what do you guys want? And we have to talk about it, and we have to come up with consensus. And then I see the Baron and Baroness, and we've talked about this a lot because we're up each other's butt all the time. I see us as the voice of the people to the crown, and the voice of the crown to the people. And it's not our ideas, it's your ideas, and it's the royal ideas, and how we make that cross and be palatable for everybody.
I'm gonna cite 2 examples from my experience that I've learned. The first, as North Oaken commander, one of the things that I was taught, and I found to be very true, is this is a volunteer organization. I can scream all the orders I want. If people don't believe that following my instructions will get them farther, they'll walk away. There's no, this isn't the military where if you don't listen to my command, you go to jail. I have to do it in a way that makes people want to follow me. And the second part of it is something, I don't know how many witnesses, I'm going to use a Star Wars reference. Instead of being the guy that's telling everybody where to do what to go, I like to be the motivator droid. Okay? My job is to start picking up the chairs and putting them away, and I love it when everybody else in the room starts picking up chairs and putting them away. Because to me, I never said a word, but everybody did it, right? To me, it's going to Her Majesty and saying, hey, can you pick up a hay bale for a minute? And then yelling, hey guys, she's moving hay bales, can I get some help? I got an army in an instant. Okay? So it's learning how to get people to volunteer in a way that's part of the SCA, that's not, a lash isn't gonna work. If I use a whip, you'll all be gone. So I have to use honey every time. So that's my style.
My approach is, I ran a warehouse one time, we had 20 employees, and my word is camaraderie. And what that means to me is, basically what he just touched on is, if you walk out there and go, you're gonna do this, this, and this, and this, you're gonna go, yeah, whatever. If you walk around individually, like Kennigan does, and get with people and say, hey man, what do you think? Think we can do this? We get all this done, help do this? Go to each person and see if you can't get them to camaraderie with everybody else. That would be my way.
Your way is also making them laugh. You're
Yeah.
a cut up.
I do have fun. You know, I do have fun.
I am a nurturer by nature. I'm a Cancerian. Hello. You got that. I also am an organizer. I'm a worker bee as well. I can't do as many physical things as I used to do, but I really do, you know, I think where I shine is kind of in the kitchen and or organizing events. That's what I really like to do, is organize events. So if I can get people interested in being a part of that event, you know, I can nurture their, you know, hey, do you want to do this? Or, you know, because let me, example, Mask of Courtly Love, Finna. She'd never been a merchant crab before, but she runs a store. And I said, hey, you know, and she came up and she says, I would really like to be a merchant crab. I said, great. I said, it's not that difficult. You are already a merchant. You know, you gather 2 friends and they'll gather 2 friends. We had 9 merchants, maybe 11, at Mask of Courtly Love. You know, and it's like, I told her repeatedly, you have done a fantastic job. And I think people really need to hear that. You know, no matter the smallest thing that you've done, you need to be told how good you are, you know, because we don't get that in our everyday mundane life, you know, let's face it. So if I can nurture somebody, organize something and make, you know, a successful event and fun, then I feel like I've done my job.
So I'm one of those people that I try to fill like little niches that aren't being taken care of. And that's the thing that I just do. I do it on the field too. Oh, there's a gap right there. I need to go fill that. Or hey, this is going on. And I do it outside of fighting too. But that can get very burdensome because it's one person filling things. And one of the things I've learned, especially doing Armored Command, is that it's not you're doing the job, it's people management. And sometimes it's so much of like, hey, you really like doing this thing. Have you ever thought about X? maybe you should think about X. And maybe they do it, maybe they don't. But I feel like, especially in a person going into like a Baroness position, it's about encouraging people to do things that make them shine. It's not about, well, I can get that fixed, or I can say, hey, you should go do that. It's, you're really good at this. Maybe you should consider this. You're good at this. Maybe you should enter it into an ANS fair. Have you thought about that before? So it's encouraging people to do the things that they love most and enjoy it.
I want to use the two words like you were saying. My two would be banner and support. By that I mean, whoever her is Baron and Baroness has to be the person that is out front, hunting all situations, and at the same time, the person that supports everybody in what they do. Leadership, as in the words of Eisenhower, is taking credit when taking the blame when everything goes wrong, and giving everybody else credit when everything goes right.
Sorry,
I've had some very tough lessons in a different variety as a seneschal during the pandemic, when when things kind of have gone wrong in ways that none of us could have even perceived happening at that point. And the thing about it is, if you want to wear the coronet, you've got to make certain that you're the banner for everybody in that barony, especially the newcomers, especially to bring them in. But you also have to be a person that's, I'll use Baron Callum as the former Baron of Cleflands, and also he's a baron, he's a knight, he's etc. 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 He's in the kitchen every bloody time I see him at an event, even if it's not in Cleflands or ours. So I want to try and bring that kind of an energy on both ends, and that's to be in Baron.
My two words bring me back to something that my father taught me, and the first one is respect. My father taught me that treat others the same way you want to be treated. I, like you, want to be treated with respect. So I guarantee you, I will respect you. Another one is communication. Communication is key. If you don't have communication, then you have gaps, you have holes, and then you have to scramble to try and fill those gaps and holes. If you have communication from the get-go, there won't be any gaps, there won't be any holes, and everybody will be happy, everybody will be fulfilled, and everybody will have a good time.
I'm going to steal a page out of our company HR town hall meeting we had and say my two words would be collaboration and teamwork. And nearly everything we do in the SCA in terms of service has some type of hierarchical structure, be it the royals down to individual barons, be it command generals down to line commanders. Getting people that have that energy for whatever position into that position, asking, do you want to go into this? Do you want to do this? Or finding out that they don't want to do it. I've come to people that they love to line command. They will yell and scream at people all they want, but they have no desire to be a general because that's their flow. And finding people to put in those niches where they like to be, so that when I'm encouraging people to do a thing, either participate or go in the battle or help out, that the people that are already there or the people that we have are happy with what they're doing, and that can encourage even more people to help out.
Thank you. Hands up, next. We'll start with Arden.
Hi. This is a fun question. Which historical or fictional figures presented in medieval times would you say you'd like your reign to most resemble?
This is a good one.
Oh boy.
Look at that face.
You want us to do a round of Jeopardy song? What you think?
Seeing someone who never studied history.
Fantasy.
watch movies, but there's a movie.
Based on history.
The only person that comes to mind is King Arthur. Everybody's going to pick King Arthur because they want. He's the guy.
You get to go first and pick him, though.
Yeah, I know. He was the guy that started out as this little kid that worked his way all the way up and made everybody follow him and do what needed to get done. And that's how I think that I would try to, if I was picked for Baron, to try to run things, to get everybody to do what needs to be done and rally together as a whole to make things happen.
All right, go for Ward.
Okay, so my persona is a Swedish Viking vulva, and the only documentation we kind of have on that is the blue and red dress of Harald Bluetooth's vulva, who is a seer, a witch or what have you. So I think if I could go back and actually see what the Jarls of that time did, because we don't really have a whole bunch of movies about Jarls except for the show Vikings and stuff like that. You know, Lagertha, I'm all for her, man. She was one bad mamma jamma. So I would say Lagertha, and I'm not bloodthirsty, but if it came down to my flock, I might get that way. You know, I'm a little protective. So yeah, Lagertha, and making sure my family is safe, secure, well-fed, dry, clothed, you know. So yeah, Lagertha.
So the thing I failed out in history class was names and dates. So we're gonna go with Boudica on the coast, defeating them, war!
I was hoping you would say that. But of course. Despite the fact that my persona is Scottish, I would have to refer to an English king. King is kind of how the person that would be my inspiration, and the inspiration in most people's mind what King Arthur is. For those who don't know Alfred the Great, the only king in England ever to have that title, he was not a great man in the traditional sense. He was sickly. He was a warrior. He was a warrior because he had to be. He was a warrior because his people needed him to be. He was also a thinker. He was one of the people told that one of the things he always did whenever he distributed land or titles, whatever thing, was he would offer books. And he would offer them in English, which at the time was a big deal because it was what the world did. So I want to try to be that kind of person where there's times when I do get bloodthirsty. Anybody who put a blue sticker on somebody's helmet in front of me, and I will charge into MMA. But I want to try to increase the knowledge and increase the fellowship of the Barony as much as anything. And I think that's what King Alfred's biggest legacy was.
Not Longshanks?
I'll have you later.
I'll be honest, I'm drawing a blank because there's so many, and Wolverine took my choice because that was who immediately popped into my head. There's so many good choices. Pardon? I was actually going to go with Princess Leia. She said fictional.
Yeah, that's working.
Go with Space Mom.
Because she was a fighter, but she also cared for her people. She looked out for her people. She put them first. And that is exactly how I am. I put everybody before me. And so that's what I would have to say with Princess Leia.
I typically focusing on period. I cannot remember his name, but there was a knight in period that had lost a limb when being told to go into battle, and fabricated some type of early period prosthetic and kept going into battle. I cannot remember his name. Being more of a realist, I like the real stories of those type of people in period. That's what I base my persona off of, loosely, is that not so much the romantic, but more of that realistic of, these are the people that did the thing, this is a person that needed to be aimed at a target, versus something that's just over idealistically frou-frou. I did not hear the fact that you said fictional, so I cannot think off the cuff a fictional character.
Fun, very yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And then with the projects, I have, this is my boomstick stuck in my head, so.
I don't know if Ash would be a really good person to base yourself on.
Thank you for that.
My suggestions of chainsaws and also.
Thank you, next.
Okay, so we have Mongol personas. Actually, I like to have garb for whatever the event occasion is. So, but when we're doing Mongols, one of the reasons we joined a Mongol household is because there's no gender disparity in Mongols. In fact, in Mongolia today, there are more women in the Senate than men are. It never occurred to the Mongols to have women's rights because it never occurred to them that women weren't equal to men. Men are better at some things, women are better at some things. The women have the goods and they handle all the money, and the men handle the herds, and so on. There were a couple of Mongol queens that were pretty impressive. Chabi was the wife of Kublai Khan, and she sat next to him on the throne. This is why the Asians have these double wide thrones, because the women sat next to the men. And she made decisions with him, and he would not have thought of making a decision without consulting her, and she would not make a decision without consulting him. There's another woman called Halan, who is actually the mother of Temujin, who became Genghis Khan. And when her boys were fighting, she broke up fights by making them realize how they were stronger together. Her sons were fighting over a fish. Who could eat? And she said, here, take this stick, this arrow, and break it. And yeah, each of the boys could break one arrow. And then she said, okay, take one arrow from each of you. Here's this bundle of arrows. Can you break it? No, because together we're stronger. But everybody's just as important. So those are my role models.
For me, I'm going to go with the big guns, but for a non-obvious reason. I'm going to pick Genghis Khan. Great warrior, great general, conquered so much of the known world at the time. But the things that I find inspiring is that he promoted his people based on merit, not necessarily who they were born from or their titles. He collected and encouraged and maintained a collection of other religions and thinkers so that he could have anything new. He had Chinese engineers, he had Muslim writers. He thought all of this knowledge was important, and he saved it and collected it. And the other part that he was very good at is he would put women in places of power. So some of the other places that he conquered, he would put one of his relatives, a woman, in charge of it. Some of that was because he made them marry like the son of somebody, and then he put them in a special garden. Oops, they died. But the point being is that he believed in the power of both genders. So it's for a lot of the equality reasons. So there are things about Genghis Khan that I find pretty cool that would be good to redo in the society here, beyond the blood and gore.
But blood and gore is fun.
Killing is my business and business.
Questions, hands up. Okay.
Where do you guys see the blades in your marriage?
Usually in Gwyntarian here, they're always old.
Yeah, they're everywhere. See the blades?
Pointing in the
right there. You mean other than on the field?
Pointing in the foot. You're
right, pointing at the other guy on the field. So here's one of the things that I'll tell you, having been this barony for a while. The blades were the household that ran things.
and I very much miss that. I think the pandemic hurt us a lot. A lot of the leaders have had to step away for various reasons, sometimes work, sometimes life. But they were the household that ran things. I mean, they're like, I think little G Guild, not big G Guild.
Right, yes.
But they acted like a household when we didn't have nights and nights with households. And I'd love to see them refill that position of being the group that helps make things run. And they still do. But they were the ones in the kitchen after events helping clean up. They were the ones tearing down and setting up. And I miss that. So that's where I'd like to see them again.
Well, the Blades were the reason that I stopped being Donald Main, known as the dude who that goes onto the field every year, events like writing up stories about what everybody do, and that's the reason I stepped into Brendoken. I agree wholeheartedly with what Wolverine says about the Blades, and I can, as a former foreperson of the Blades, I can say that how that's gone away. The pandemic hit us hard, very hard. I'm gonna start calling the Blades again, and every chance I get, and I'm calling them the Blades as well as the Brendoken Rapier. Because both families deserve to be there. Where are they going to be? Right here. And when they're not right here, they better be across the field, taking the flag at the next goddamn battle. They're going to be our vanguard. I'm going to see them. John?
I would like to see the Blades grow. There's many talented rapier fighters in Brendoken. And I think that we should recognize that fact and increase the size of the Blades so that the Blades has a much larger presence on the field when we're at Penzing or at other events. They'll see that and they'll be like, oh, yeah, we're in trouble. That's what I would love to see.
Where do I see the Blades? They are the stabby left hand of the Barony. My internal knowledge is extremely limited, but through their actions over the years, they have been multiple times awarded.
3 years running.
3 years running, yes.
We had Dragon's team.
And
I was proud to be on all those teams.
Yes, and if not that, also hearing the stories of the critical roles that they've played in battles, and just to keep that happening, because someone's having fun doing it, and that's where I'd like to see them is on the field.
I'm going to let you go first since you are a Blade.
I'm a member of the Blades. I'm a proud member of the Chivalry who's on the Blades, and I'm also one of 3 swords, I believe, that we have. So I'm a ranking member of the Blades. I think the Blades are very important. I think they are the core of our rapier unit. Nobody who fights rapier is excluded. You can be part of the baronial unit and not be a Blade. The Blades have a very specific process for advancement. It's based on fighting prizes, and if you fulfill the things, you go through the forging ceremony, you increase in rank. It's open to anyone, and if you want to try it, I'm happy to support it. I think they've also done a lot of things for the greater rapier community. They've hosted a Blades known world party to increase people, and I'd like to see things like that happen maybe at the Baronial tent on Penzing, where we can have a lot of space. And I agree, I would encourage that if we can get together and get more active, that we do more things to like clean up after feasts, or set up things for people, or maybe people are coming into the event and we help them unload all their gear. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can serve while wearing our clothes. I have no problem making them a big part of the barony. On the other hand, it's a want-to thing. I can't force them, I can encourage them, but I would definitely give them a plate.
That's where I would add something. The Blades is a household, and households are important in the SCA because they are identity. There are, what household you're in forms your identity, and your friends are in that household with you. The Blades is one household. I'd like to see them do more stuff, but I want to say they're not the only household. And there are other households who could step up and do things too. So if you are not a Blade, I don't want you to feel left out. I want you to find your niche and do the things and if you don't know what to do, come ask us. We'll find you something. Because that's what I do.
I believe I was the 5th Brendoken Blade in the Blades. And it used to be a force to be reckoned with, but the pandemic pretty much wrecked a lot of things. And in my opinion, it wrecked the Brendoken Blades. Some of them moved away. Some of them don't play anymore. Some of them just still don't want to come out and get around other people yet. And I'm trying to think of some way to try to get them to come back. Sir Silverthorn's correct. You can't make people do something that they don't want to do. But I think instead of sitting back thinking, man, I remember how it used to be, we need to do something different to make it how it should be now. If the other people don't want to come back and play, that's fine, but we need to build the Brendoken Blades back up so they would be an elite team again with the new people that we have fighting with us now. Instead of sitting thinking, man, whatever happened to Gabe, whatever happened to all the rest of them, we need to move on. If they want to come back and play, welcome, please come back. They were great warriors, but there's not much going on, and I'm trying to find a way to get that resurrected again.
My recollection of the Blades was in the early years of the Blades, and when the Baron and Baroness, Einar and Merwin, would process out onto the field, you would have the Blades there. There was 6, 8, 10, and they were spiffy. They were like, people would look at them and say, wow, we want to be like them. We want to be, our uniforms, our everything. Look how clean their stuff is. And I think that is important, is perception, especially in the game that we play, perception of, if you look badass, people are going to start talking about you. People are going to say, I don't want to fight that person. I've seen that person on the field, and yeah, I'll take that person over there instead. And we need to have that back. We need to have that, oh shit, it's the Blades coming back. We really need. And, and it's funny because everybody thinks that, and I'm not downplaying the heavy fighters, but there is some form of finesse about doing rapier. I tried it, and God love you. I just, those that do it, thank you very much. But I think we just need to bring that whole, I'm going to call it a stigmata about the Blades. And when you see them coming, you go a-running.
I got, I'll squeeze the forging hammer, so.
Well, we need more.
Hey, Foreman, as treasurer, you and I need to call a meeting.
Yeah, actually, I'm no longer under it, but I can say they put that fact on. People see that star coming on the rapier field. They still run the other direction. So it hasn't. It might not be the Blades. It might be Brendoken, but we're still coming hard.
And Brendoken still has Blades or not, an awesome rapier presence on it.
Yes, it does. And most importantly, it has a reputation of not backing up. In other words, we take an objective, we hold it.
Yep. And you had a question?
Yes. Okay. This is a take a Jeopardy moment. Discuss with your partner. I want one answer. Because I'm listening to 8 different answers, and that's wonderful, but I want to hear one answer for each couple. If you had a chance to choose road 2, where and why?
I didn't hear there was road 2.
Road 2, the event. Road 2. Okay, road to hell, road to wherever.
You guys not do that.
So they want one answer for each couple?
Only the people watching TV hear that song and the contestants don't.
Exactly. And we need to give Morales a better drinking device.
Right.
You need a better drinking cup. Come on.
It's got my name on it. I can't lose it.
Yes, you can. I've seen you.
Give it this Jeopardy. Can we buzz it first?
All right, first couple.
So, for Gwyntarian's 50-year birthday next year, we're going with Road to
The gold.
What?
Road to the gold.
Road to Gold.
Okay, why?
Golden anniversary.
Golden
anniversary.
Golden anniversary, and remember the Gwyntarian was gold. Hey, if I remember correctly, it was Golden Tower. So, but yeah, we're
Silver win.
silver.
Sell of money, depends.
Sell of money, silver win.
But it would be Road to the Gold because for those of y'all who weren't here 50 years ago, they didn't start this. Not only are we not here, this isn't here. Brendoken's not here. So we got to make certain that we do keep them as the gold standard, so to speak.
Jen Morales.
I'm not sure how to follow that up. I'm trying to think of places that we haven't made a focus before.
That's
like
my problem.
Spain,
Yeah.
like medieval Spain comes to mind. Medieval Germany comes to mind. Those are the first two things that pop in my head in terms of geographically where.
Road to Madrid.
Oh, that would be good.
Why?
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 To
That's part of the question. Why?
get a taste of that culture, that flair. See what people can come up for that. Because
Usually it's a taste of more.
every road to event has had different specializations in terms of where it was going. And just to keep that rotating to any other culture of period.
John?
We were talking about this, and I'd love to say Road to Mongolia, but we've already done that. We did it a long, long time ago, and we could do it again, or we could do Road to Asia, anywhere. But we have a fondness for France. And in the city of Le Mans, in the center of France, there is a medieval city called Cité Plantagenet. It is where Berengaria, who was the wife of Richard I, spent most of her days. And I would love to do a feast based on the Plantagenets and French cooking.
And it's
I think we just got our vote.
I think it would be fun. So it would be what? The Le Mans Roadshow?
With chariots instead of, yeah. But yeah, Le Mans, we think of Le Mans as the car race, but it is a gorgeous medieval city in the center of it. There is a bar called Saint Flasson, where you go and you get aperitif in the afternoon. And all of the drinks are these huge things with feathers and carnival masks, and they're named after famous French. There's a Richelieu, there's a Marie Antoinette, that's a little out of our period, but I would love to do a Richard I, Berengaria, Plantagenet thing.
As far as the drinks, we're gonna have to let the highway patrol know, but. Yeah.
No.
We're gonna do the road to pillage because we're Vikings. Nobody likes, fish that has been rotted in the earth for 2 months.
Are you dissing lutefisk?
Yes.
That's lutefisk. Yeah, but there are so many Vikings in the SCA, and it's great summer wear, by the way. And winter wear, we can wear furs and all that, so it's all cool. But honestly, any road we travel, you're all gonna be with us, so it really doesn't matter. So, but I think having a road to pillage would be extremely fun. We could have fights based on pillaging. We could have a feast based on, you know, foods from other countries that we have pillaged, such as England and France. So yeah, I think we would just kind of do the whole, you know, Viking coastline. And if we really want to get technical, we could go to Oak Island.
This is actually some of the fun you were talking about, because the original Road 2 came from an idea I had after seeing the Road 2 movies of Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour.
We have time for another question.
I was going to dovetail on the question about the blades with a question about the former Gwyntarian Archers Guild, which became, over a couple years ago, the Brendoken Archers Guild, and the evolution of archery in the barony. Gwyntarian used to be well known for its archery skills back in the days of Arwena and Gordon. And
they still are.
They still are. You go places and take home all the prizes.
Yes, exactly. I'm just saying we have a well-established history. Where do you see archery going in the barony, and what kind of rules would you be playing? Would you be open for an event that was archery only, like Better War Through Archery, or Lodgings of Spring, or things like that?
I'd be all up for a Aegean court.
Back to you.
Absolutely. I currently can't shoot archery because of my shoulder. I'm hoping to get back into it with a crossbow, but I absolutely would 100% back putting a bid in for Better Work Through Archery, the Fletchings event, or even creating our own, which would be better because then it would be ours. But no, I 100% back archery and getting it growing, getting it larger, getting it more.
Yeah, I don't have much to add to that. When I think Brendoken, I think projectile weapons. If there's a blade in the left hand, there's probably some type of knife and or bow in the other hand. One of the big things we are known for, and I think that we're still known for, is that activity of thrown weapons, archery. And whatever that we could do to continue supporting that would definitely be the direction I would go. I would like to shoot, I just need to get the stuff for it.
Have a bow even though.
John?
Yeah, I think, I love the idea of archery events. I love the idea of events with a theme. I don't care if it's archery, I don't care if it's fighting, I don't care if it's rapier, I don't care if it's A&S. I want to do events that are focused on a thing. And maybe everybody won't want to go to every event. We have some general events too. But I'm all for an archery event. I'm all for more events.
I just helped my squire here come up with a set of combat arrows and a combat crossbow for people to borrow. I strongly support combat archery as a knight. Pardon?
Blasphemy.
I believe that the archery community in this barony is every bit the same size and value as its armored, its rapier, and its A&S. It's a big, strong, well-known community, and I would have no problem supporting it for an event of any kind. I mean, I've got a set of bow and arrows. It would make me, I'd be very encouraged to come out and bring them out and shoot some more. As long as people don't mind hot pink, teal, and yellow fletching.
Which are very easy to find in the grass.
Absolutely.
I thought we had two CA crossbows now in 50 rounds, so trust me.
Yeah, I thought that was a free as fletching.
So yeah, I mean, I think archery is a huge part of this community. You know, it's a huge community within our community, and I absolutely, totally, 100% support it.
Well, being an archery marshal, I'm all over doing an archery event. I know that we always had a St. Sebastian's Day where they sit and they talk about archery things. We can make it into like a larger kind of an event where you actually have people shoot archery stuff. Or we can even have an Aegean Court road event. But yeah, I would support archery 100%, and I think the archers that we have are really, really good archers. So I support that 100%. I support 100% with the archery.
Archery is something everybody can do. Everybody, from the person that can hold, like the Fae, who can, you know, who's only about that tall, but she can shoot, and shoot well, and kill many stuffed animals, to your oldest member. So there is no reason and or excuse that we cannot have a super huge, strong archery contingency, you know, anywhere we go. And, you know, I've started making my own arrows. I don't make the shafts, but I fletch them and knock them and all that other stuff. And it's really not that hard. I thought there was this huge science to it. You know, YouTube it, make your own stuff. You know, be part of your machinery there. But I think, yeah, we should get anybody that can, you know, pull a bow out there pulling a bow.
Those with bad shoulders now will disagree with you, but that's different.
There's such
Get over it!
There's such things as crossbows.
Motrin, ibuprofen, come on.
I would absolutely love to see a archery event in this barony. I'm actually a bit of a proponent for, I don't want to call it themed events, but to me, not every event needs to be Kensic. So having an event where it is just focused on archery is great. It doesn't always have to be against other events too. We can always set it at a baronial meeting. We could always do a Sunday something. We could make a mini event here. What I love about archery in this barony is we're doing it a lot of times before the meetings. In the sense of, hey, it's a beautiful day, let's go shoot. And I show up and there's already 15 people here. You know, and they're out shooting archery. Maybe they're shooting archery before they go do something else. But it's also a great thing when we have stuff like newcomers. Because it doesn't matter who you are, there's not as much of a, I don't want to call it a pay to play, but like, okay, armor, there's a whole bunch of stuff you got to put on it, might fit, might not. And then you got to go do all these things. Archery, someone probably has a bow and arrows and will teach you. And so for newcomers to the barony, it is the first thing they can get into. First day. And I think that's fantastic. Just don't ask me to shoot. I tear up my arm more than I tear up the target.
Well, to kind of piggyback on what both of these two have said, I've been in society long enough to remember when, for the longest time, the only way that everybody in the populace was able to go to improve war points at Kensic was by the populace archery.
Yep.
So that right there tells you how A, inclusive, and B, how encompassing archery can be, and I'd like to admit to that. I would absolutely commit to an archery event. Honey, I don't know if we can host selection this spring, but I'll do my best. But the thing about it, the thing about it is, when you look, I'm always, the thing that I like about what the Guild has done recently is that we've probably had more foresters come out of Brendoken in the last 5 years than there's been a couple. And I know that acquiring Duke and his clan has been a big part of that. But I also know that supporting the archery community is something that this barony has always been good at, to the point where I don't know where this effort has gone now, but there was a movement about a decade, 5 years ago in society for a fifth peerage and I think the archery community was kind of on the front of that. So I don't know if that's where that's going to go, but definitely supporting the archery community is an absolute must for us for the legacy of this barony.
All right, we have one final question. We're going to keep it very succinct because this is going to be it. We're out of time-ish.
So, very important question. Hopefully going to be a light note, but very important for Brendo. What's your opinion of bacon?
Of what?
What? Bacon!
Yes! Woo! Next slice for me. Maple salt.
Do we have any opposition to bacon out here?
Hell no.
Millionaire's bacon, baked in the oven with brown sugar and pepper, and yes. I will make bacon.
I had bacon just today.
I eat bacon and eggs every morning for breakfast.
Thick cut, thick cut.
Better slow down on that,
I
dude.
think there's
No,
a
it's gotta be
challenge
bacon.
that each one of us
They said I was
bacon,
good.
and then we taste it.
We have a meeting coming up with food in it.
I'm not a
Just saying.
fantastic cook.
Oh, I want to thank our candidates very much for your candid and open questions and tolerating the music, which is really good, but yeah, makes question Q&A rough. I want to thank my populace for showing up again, for asking very pointed questions, letting us into these people's lives who for 3 to 5 years, theoretically will be running ours. Thank you everyone, have a good evening, safe travels.